You're listening to the Hella Well with Danielle show, a podcast taking women of color on a journey exploring all things wellness and travel related. We're all about showing you how to put on your oxygen mask first and creating lasting self-care habits that will free you to travel the world and live the life you truly desire, and not one you have to fake loving. I'm your host, Danielle Washington. Now let's buckle up and start this journey. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Hell Well with Danielle podcast. Picking the right yoga for you, I feel is like being on a dating site. Or even like being at Whole Foods and you're trying to figure out which Pinot. They all look exactly the same. How do I know which is the right one for me? And when I first started doing yoga, I wish I had someone who decoded all the different styles or the popular styles. There's hella styles of yoga out there, but someone who decoded the popular styles of yoga to help me figure out what was the best one for me. So that's what I wanted to do here today is I wanted to kind of go through 10 different styles of yoga, talk about what they are, what they involve, like how much work is it? Is it slow paced? Is it fast paced? Is it spiritual based? Is it going to be hot and crazy? I wish I had this because I would have not done certain yogas. I would have known right away that this type of yoga is definitely not for me. So today, that's what we're going to be talking about because I know it can be confusing. But before we even get started, let's start off with what is yoga? Like I feel like people kind of know what yoga is, but do you really know what yoga is? If you really look at the meaning of yoga, yoga means union. And the ultimate aim of a yoga practice is to push you towards liberation. Did you know that it was towards liberation? Some people say it was started in India. Some people say it was started in Egypt. Depending on which way you go, you can look at all the different facts and historical comments and whatever, and you can make that basis. No matter where yoga started, there's some great benefits behind it. In every yoga class, there is physical benefits, whether it's, toning your muscles, improving your balance, it's helping you sleep. But there also is mental health benefits behind doing yoga as well. Yoga helps you with soothing your anxiety, helps you get clarity, boosting your brain power. And there's also spiritual aspects of it. If you choose to dive into that, every practice can be a physical, mental, and spiritual practice. And people don't realize that. So they think, oh, this practice here, if I want to be spiritual, I have to do this practice alone. Or if I want to have a mental practice, I have to do this practice, and it can't be that. You can have a spiritual, mental, and physical practice in all these different types. It just depends on how you show up on the mat. And one of the best pieces of advice that someone gave me when I first started doing yoga was how we show up on the mat is how we show up in life. And I had to think about that when I was in classes and I'm doing yoga and I'm like, well, I can't do this, so I'm just going to give up. And I realized that at that time in my life, that was how I was showing up in life. And so think about that when you are on the mat. But before we even get on the mat, let's figure out exactly what is the best type of yoga for you. Picking out the best type of yoga for you is highly personal. What works for me may not work for you. What works for your friend may not work for you. So I encourage you to try different things. But again, you kind of need to know where to try, where to start. So let's start with one of the most popular types of yoga, which is called Hatha yoga. Hatha yoga just means that it is a physical practice. It includes asanas, which are movements, opposed to saying chants. Hatha yoga is really basically kind of the umbrella of a lot of different types of yoga. If you were taking a class in a gym and it just said yoga class or some some community center, 9 out of 10, it was Hatha or maybe Vinyasa, which is another one we'll talk about soon. But Hatha yoga is probably one of the most modern and most widely used practices. It's slow paced. There's extra support that's given. It's great for beginners because it gives you the basic poses. It gives you some basic breathing techniques. It's grounding. And all in all, it's a great place to start if you are new to yoga and you want to do what westernized yoga feels like. This is one I would say that is really good for you to try. Like hatha classes are now commonly referred to as classes that don't conclude flowing. So they're not flowing, you're kind of stopping through positions, and it's often more of a gentle yoga class. So if you might see a gentle yoga flow, that is something you might see as that actually is a hatha class. So that's hatha, if that makes any sense to you. The next one I want to talk about is another popular one, which is vinyasa. Vinyasa yoga is led by a teacher who flows through different poses, moving from one to the next one to the next one without really stopping at all. So like in hatha, the teacher will stop and talk about the different poses. You'll be there for a little bit longer. But in vinyasa, it's all about the flow. So it could be, a lot of studios will call these classes like flow yoga, flow style, dynamic yoga, or vinyasa flow. And it's influenced by Ashtanga yoga, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But it's a very physically demanding yoga style. It's very common in gyms and studios. It's great for a good workout. If you're looking for a good yoga workout and something physical, this is for you. If you like a lot of variety, this is for you. If you're new, I kind of recommend you might want to try something a little bit slower until you get some of the poses because they are moving hella fast. I remember doing one of my first vinyasa classes and I'm like, I don't know any of these poses and I'm trying to follow everyone. And by the time I thought I got it, they've moved into another pose. And so if you're new, you may want to try something a little bit slower. If you're someone who knows a little bit, has got a little bit down, and you're not a fan of routine, this is your yoga type. Vinyasa is for you, and you can find it pretty much anywhere. The next yoga style I want to talk about is Kundalini yoga. I love Kundalini yoga. I'm also a Kundalini yoga teacher, so maybe a little bit biased, but I'm still going to give you as non-biased opinion of Kundalini as I possibly can. Kundalini yoga is considered the yoga of awareness. It is an ancient type of practice that combines repetitive movement, breath work, chanting, meditation to awaken and connect us to the divine energy that is within all of us. So the thought process in Kundalini yoga is we all have this dormant divine energy that lies at the base of our spine. So like at the root, right below the sex organs. But most of us don't channel it. This energy is there. This power that's within all of us is there, but we don't channel it. So what Kundalini yoga is about literally kind of utilizing different movements, different chants, repetitive and very specific poses to help move that energy up the 7 chakras. And it talks about moving energy to get you to a higher space, for you to vibrate on a higher level. And it can be very spiritual. But don't get it twisted. Kundalini yoga is spiritual as it can be, and it's not a religion. So it's not a religion in any form or another, but it's spiritual as it can feel, and because it can bring up different emotions. Oftentimes in a Kundalini class, during the class, you may be practicing and all of a sudden you get this like aha moment and you just get this like, oh my God, I was stuck in this thought process. And through these movements, you may have like a moment of like, oh my God, I got it. Like you get the clarity. I've gotten so much clarity from these classes. And so I say this to say it is a spiritual class, but it is just as much a physical practice. And that's what I was wanting to say earlier. It's like, don't get it twisted. Kundalini yoga is definitely physical. I feel like it's one of those sleeper situations where you take the class and you see the movement that the teacher is about to show you to do. You're like, oh, I totally got this. This is going to be easy. And then you're doing it for longer periods of time. And you're like, oh, this is really hard. So like, for example, I remember doing a class and I had to take my index finger and my middle finger, and you kind of make a movement as if you're cutting scissors. And so you're making that scissor movement, you're cutting. Seems super easy. Do that for 10 minutes. And sometimes that can feel like challenging, but that's part of the process in Kundalini. It is to challenge you mentally, and it brings up things. And so one of the things that people often say is keeping up with the time and keeping up with the practice to be kept up. It can bring up emotions. I will say that I cried in my first Kundalini class, and I think I would have felt really awkward if I didn't look around. I'm like, well, other people are crying too. What is going on? But I was releasing all these things. So it is a great practice. It's for those who want something deeper than a physical workout. It is a physical workout, but it's people who want something deeper than a physical workout. Like, you don't want to stress about, being flexible. I feel like in certain other classes, I felt like I was stressed out like, oh, I'm not flexible enough, so I can't do this. In Kundalini, I don't have to. I don't feel like I have to be the most flexible person. There's modifications for everything. I just don't feel like you have to be like hardcore. I'm in the best shape of my life to do Kundalini. You could be Kundalini, and you can do any type of yoga. I should say this now. You can do any type of yoga at any size. I think that's one of the things we feel like I can't do yoga unless I'm a size 0 or a size 2. You can do yoga at any weight, any place in your life. It doesn't matter. There is a yoga for you. So I wanted to also stress that. The other thing about Kundalini yoga I want to stress is that it dives deeper into breath work and meditation. And so if that's something that you're looking to have a deeper connection to utilizing breath work for your practice, it is great. Because every class will begin, and this is why Kundalini is a little bit different. So Kundalini classes are not like your typical yoga classes. It starts with the opening chant. Then there's some pranayama, which is some yoga breath work. There's spinal warm-ups. There's a kriya, which is specific movements. And then it closes with a closing meditation. Again, it's great if you want a deeper dive into breath work and meditation. It's also great if you are meditating and you're looking for something different. Sometimes when we start meditating and we're sitting in what we call traditional meditation moves, where we're sitting silent and our mind's going crazy, that doesn't feel like it's working. We don't feel like it's not working for us. So using Kundalini meditations, which consist of movements, which may consist of chanting, but it may also consist of, being silent but holding a certain mudra, might be exactly what you're looking for in terms of deepening your meditation practice. So again, I always recommend people try something, see if it works before saying, oh my God, no, this isn't going to work for me. I'm not even going to do it. The other part of Kundalini yoga practice is that it is a great practice to complement your healing work. A lot of it brings up emotions, as I mentioned earlier. So I feel like it is a great way to have a physical practice to help you with your healing practice, because it does do things like with the specific movements, it can be something where a certain kriya will work on activating your parasympathetic nervous system, where your body, and helps your body heal and helps your mind heal in a certain way. And so again, I love this yoga. That's why I'm a Kundalini yoga teacher. It's a slower pace, I feel. I don't feel like I'm rushing from one step to another. There's relaxations in the middle to help you kind of get through the class. And it focuses on moving the energy. And I'm all about moving the energy. Similar to Kundalini, but not exactly the same, or definitely not exactly the same by any means necessary, but I feel like it's similar in the vein of kind of how it flows, is Kemetic yoga. Kemetic yoga, another ancient practice, started in ancient Egypt, a system of yoga that's based on physical movement, combining with control of your breath and meditation. Kind of, again, similar to Kundalini yoga. This one focuses on movement of energy through the body in order for one to get to a higher intelligence and to feel like they're in that divine state of wisdom. He uses series of geometrically progressive postures that create alignment of the spinal cord and allows internal life force to move through the spinal fluid and to flow. Again, very similar to what I would say you would feel in Kundalini in that aspect, where I see there's maybe a slight difference in the situation minus the movements. The movements are completely different. The movements in Kemetic yoga have you will see in like hieroglyphics. And so you may see some type of things. That's why they say yoga may have started in Egypt, which I kind of do agree with that. But a lot of people say yoga started in Egypt because you look at the hieroglyphics and, those date back pretty far. And you see that they're making these poses that you will see also in Kemetic yoga. But the one thing that I would say about this one is it is both a philosophy and a practice. And it's based on a Kemetic system of self-development that fuels creation. And it's about the creation of the Kemetic civilization that spawned Western science, philosophy, and religion. So it dates back. So if you're someone who is connected to your roots, if your roots are in Africa, this is a great practice to add on to that spiritual, philosophical aspect of your life. This is more than a physical practice. It's about developing your mind. It's slower pace. It also focuses on meditation and energy. I like this practice. This is one of those practices that if I probably wasn't a Kundalini yoga teacher, I would probably be a comedic yoga teacher. If not a comedic yoga teacher, I'd be a Juvenuti yoga teacher. Juvenuti. I remember hearing that word and I'm like, Juvenuti? I'm like, what is that? I was in a local yoga studio and I was trying a couple different yogas and someone told me, hey, you should try this Juvenuti yoga class. It would be perfect for you. I remember my first class, and this again, I was fairly new. I was like, ooh, someone's on crack. I can't do this because Juvenuti yoga, as much as I love it, it has a very vinyasa-like style. It's very fast-paced, but the difference I feel with Juvenuti is that it has theme classes. It was started in, I think, around the 1984 timeframe by David Life and Sharon Gannon, and it means liberation while living. I love Kundalini because I feel like I love Kundalini now. I didn't like it when I first started doing it. I love Kundalini now because I feel like it is it was like as if someone put together Kundalini and Vinyasa and created a type of yoga style. And I feel like that's exactly what Juvenuti yoga is. I think it's a great mix of a physical practice and a great mix of a spiritual practice. It often includes chanting, music, scripture readings. It encourages students to apply this yogic philosophy to their daily life, something similar to comedic yoga. And I feel so it's like, yeah, it'd be a mix of Vinyasa, Kundalini, and comedic yoga. Juvenuti is like the great threesome of the three that comes out to be this amazing practice. And so I do love Juvenuti yoga. There is a beautiful studio in New York. If you ever want to try it, you can go there for that one. I definitely think it's a class where if you want something more than just a physical practice and you want to deepen your spiritual practice with your physical practice and a philosophical practice that goes with talking about about eating. And I think Sharon Gannon has a book about the 10 different somethings. I don't remember the exact book, but there's a book that talks about, eating healthy, eating vegan and all these different things. And so you're not just physically practicing the practice, but you're also working on it mentally. That may be the practice for you. The next practice is Bikram, and Bikram is hot. And I don't mean it's hot like, oh my God, it's hot, it's trending. I mean, Bikram is hot, like really hot, like hella hot. Most Bikram classes are in a heated room that's heated to about 105 degrees Fahrenheit, which again, is really, really hot. But it's heated so it can help you release toxins in your body. It uses 26 poses and 2 breathing exercises in every class. So no matter where you take a Bikram class, it will always be the 26 poses sequence. So you never have to worry about some surprises of any sort. But this is to help you stretch and strengthen your muscles, as well as compress and rinse the organs in your body. This is a great class if you like to sweat. If you're all about the sweat and you want something physically intensive, this is the class for you. Bikram is for you. Bikram was not for me. Bikram, you get used to the heat. I will say that getting in the room, your body goes into shock, like, oh my God, like why do all these people have all these towels? I remember my first Bikram class and no one gave me the tip. Not until the second class, or it's the second class. It was the second class. No one gave me the tip that you need a bunch of towels in the class because you're sweating all the time. I was slipping on my mat. I'm like, oh, this is a hot mess. But you get used to the heat, but I didn't get used to sweating. I didn't see the value in it. It wasn't my class. It's also a class if anyone has high blood pressure, you're pregnant, or have any heart problems, it's not for you. Because yes, it gets hot in there. It's like a Nelly song. It's getting hot in here. But you might want to take off your clothes, but your body eventually will adjust. So I would say if you're trying Bikram, allow your body to kind of adjust. Don't freak out right away and get hella towels in the beginning so you are set for when the sweat, rain, down, waterfall, whatever you want to call it, comes pouring out of your body. But the heat is really good because, again, it helps you to dig deep into the stretches. It simultaneously is building your stamina, and it's flushing your body of toxins. Who doesn't like to get rid of a bunch of toxins? It may also help with weight. I don't know. I'm not a weight person, so I can't say that or not, but it may or may not. But Bikram is hot. It's hot. It's hot. That's all I can say. Bikram is hot. And then we have yin yoga. when I even think about yin yoga, the name itself, it seems so relaxing. And it is. It is a yoga that is highly meditative. It uses Taoist traditions to focus on a passive, seated postures that really targets the connective tissues in the hips, the pelvis, and the lower spine. A lot of poses are held for 1 to 10 minutes, so you're going to be sitting there for a while. At first, you'd be like, this is interesting. And then a while, you're like, this may be a lot, depending on how flexible you are, where you are, and how you show up on the mat. Are you freaking out because, oh my God, I have to be a certain way, and you're trying to be type A? This may not be the one for you. I'm just going to say that out there right now. But it really aims at increasing your flexibility and encouraging you to feel this feeling of releasing and letting go. So if you're looking to release and let go something in your life, this may be a good yoga for you. It is because you're holding the process longer. If you're someone who's looking to practice basic meditation and stillness of the mind, being mindful, this is a great practice. This is also a great practice for people who are athletic types who need to release tension in overworked joints. This is a great practice for people who just want to chill. You want to work out, but you kind of want a lazy workout, but it's not really lazy. Yin yoga is perfect for you. It's for those who need to relax. I think it's a great practice. And I should also mention in all of this, just because you love yin doesn't mean you can't do vinyasa, and you can do different types of yogas on different days. So keep that in mind as we continue going. Speaking of vinyasa, we talked about earlier Ashtanga yoga. Vinyasa yoga is actually really based on vinyasa. Ashtanga yoga is like the OG of yoga. It is one of the longest practice forms of yoga. As I mentioned, it's similar to vinyasa. Vinyasa was actually probably more derived from Ashtanga. It also is physically demanding. This practice uses 6 poses that are practiced sequentially at a rapid pace with synchronized breath. So it's moving hella fast, but there's only 6 poses. And it's also called power yoga. So for people who are looking for a fast-paced class, this is for you. People who are type A and looking for something methodical, this is for you. If you aren't ready for something that's moving fast, and it has, there's not much going on in terms of like, you're not going to like have any surprises. Like I feel like vinyasa classes, you do have a little bit of a mix of, this class is going to be different. With Ashtanga, it's a great workout with nothing too unexpected. So if that's for you, this is for you. Another great class that I feel like is great for beginners is Iyengar. Iyengar, named after its founder, is a form of hatha yoga, and it teaches you literally and figuratively, I feel, every pose has a correct alignment and body position. And I learned this really quick in my first Iyengar class. I think Iyengar is great for beginners because if you are new to yoga and you're learning the basic poses, your Iyengar teacher will make sure your foot is a certain way, that your toes are literally gripping a certain way. If you're doing downward dog, your shoulders are pushed a certain way, your body's a certain way, and it really helps you to get in a clear alignment to make sure that you're not doing things wrong. I think this is a great yoga practice for those who are prone to injuries, which would be me. I think for me in doing yoga, when I first started doing yoga, I would try all these different types of yoga, not knowing the exact posture and the proper alignment, and then I would hurt myself. Once I got into Iyengar classes, I was finding that I was doing better in other classes because I had proper alignment. I was putting my body in the right positions to ensure that I wasn't getting injured. This practice uses a lot of props. So if you like props, this is again for you. Uses like props like blocks, straps, harnesses, chairs. I thought it was kind of strange when there's chairs, but we do use chairs, like those folding chairs you will often see in a younger class. So don't be alarmed when the teacher's like, pull out your chair. And you're like, what? Was I supposed to bring a chair? So it is a good class for those, again, who are beginners and wanting to better understanding basic postures. I think it's a great class also for people who've done yoga and just want to improve their alignment. And it is 100% the class if you are a perfectionist or methodical, type A, this is for you. This is a great class. And also, I should mention, you will hold positions. A huge part of a yoga art is still holding positions to help you to make the fine-tune adjustments. So you're holding the position so you can adjust to get into the proper situation, which can sometimes feel a lot, but great class. Great class. And I highly encourage you to try it. And the last type we're going to talk about is restorative. Restorative yoga is exactly what it sounds like. Forget sweating and think relaxation. It's about restoring your mind, your body. It's all about healing through different poses, often held for like 20 minutes. It uses props similar to a yang guard. So, you have your pillows, your bolsters, you have your straps. It's similar also to yin yoga, where it really is less about the flexibility and strength and more about relaxing. So this is great for those who, again, want to have a physical practice, but also want to have something that's a little bit more chilled and relaxing, because its meditative quality of the style is really about helping you also recover from injuries and illnesses. It is also great for helping you to kind of work through emotional trauma, stillness in the brain. If you're feeling burnt out, this is for you. If you need to de-stress, this is for you. So we've gone through 10 different types of yogas. So again, we went through Hatha, Vinyasa, Kundalini, Kemetic, Juvanuti, Bikram, Yin, Ashtanga, Iyengar, and Restorative. And that's only 10. I could have gone through other different types of yoga. There are tons of different types of yoga. But these are the 10 that I feel like most people may have heard of, or introduce some to you that you may not have heard of that you may want to try. So how do you figure out what's the best class for you? Now that you know at least about 10 popular types, how do you know what's the best type of yoga? What are your yoga goals? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to have better health? Are you trying to work on your mindfulness and being still? Are you trying to have a better spiritual awareness? Are you trying to beef up the body and get that body right for summer, even though it's fall going into winter, but you still want the body to be looking good in case you go on vacation during the winter? So is it physical fitness and flexibility, or is it all the above? Figure out what is your yoga goal, and then figure out, okay, if I really am focused in on working on my mindset, maybe I need to look in at a restorative class. If I'm looking at a stronger spiritual connection to my ancestors and my roots, maybe it's Kemetic. If I'm looking at how I can do repetitive movements to help my nervous system and moving energy and clearing blocks so I can get to a higher point and be the best person I can be, maybe it's Kundalini. You got to figure out what is your goals, and that's how you kind of figure out what yoga style is right for you. Also, ask for recommendations. Talk to other people who you know are doing yoga and see what they're saying. I encourage you to check out classes on YouTube. You don't have to actually do the class, but check out several different classes and see the vibe and the feel and the flow. Note that certain classes like Ashtanga will be completely the same, or Bikram will be completely the same over and over. I don't know if there are Bikram classes online, because you can't, well, I guess you could make your house as hot as can be, but I don't know. You might want to check that out. But again, you want to look at classes to see the flow. What's it like? Does it look like something I can do? You also want to give yourself grace and not talk yourself out of a class like, oh, looks like I can't do that. Like I'm not flexible. Every teacher, every good teacher is going to find modifications for you. Every good teacher is going to make sure that you don't push past your edge. There are teachers who are going to push you past your edge, or try to. The other part of that is you need to know what your edge is and to set a boundary. When I first started doing yoga, I didn't set the boundaries. I let people tell me, well, you should be able to do this and you should do that. And I would try to do it, negating that I've had dislocated my knees several times, that I've fractured my pelvis bone, I've torn my labrum, all through random different physical movements. And I've taken teachers who try to push me past my edge, which resulted in an injury. So also ask about teachers. How is this teacher? Is this teacher helpful? Does this teacher have a good personality? Like, is the teacher funny? Like, what are you looking for? What kind of music is the teacher playing? If the music matters to you, that may be something you might want to look at. There's also like twerk yoga. Maybe you want a yoga class that has twerking music. Figure out what's right for you and what you're looking for and what kind of personality you want in a class, and then decide what is right for you. Also checking out classes just in person and doing it more than once. Taking one class and saying, oh my God, I'm never going to do it, or taking one type of style from one teacher only and not trying it with another teacher, you may be giving up on something that may be something you truly enjoy. If I had given up on Juvenuti that first time, I wouldn't have gotten to a point to where I discovered a type of yoga that fills my soul. I feel like I'm getting a good workout, and I feel good when I leave the classes. I feel like there's a connection. They have these monthly conversations. I'm not just getting better as a yogic person, but I'm getting better as a person as a whole. Like I am bettering myself. Lastly, be open. I talked about this earlier, but being open to try something more than once, but also more importantly, give yourself grace and compassion. Starting off, you may not be the most flexible. Let's keep it real. If you haven't exercised in hella times and you've just been chilling, streaming all these different shows and not walking, not doing anything, when you first get in a yoga class, it may not be the easiest. Give yourself compassion, give yourself some grace, and know that yoga can be anything you need it to be. You have so many options. You just need to choose what's right for you. Be gracious with yourself and your limitations while also pushing yourself. And remember what I said earlier. How you show up in the mat oftentimes is how you show up in life. How are you showing up? If you have questions about different yoga types, especially if you have more questions about Kundalini yoga or Juvenuti or a couple other ones, definitely reach out. Send me a message. You can find me at Hellwell with Danielle on Instagram. You can find me on Twitter at Hellwell Danny. I had to think about that because my name is shortened. But whatever it is, if I can help you, reach out to me. I may know someone else. I may be able to answer your questions. But just start. Start somewhere. Start somewhere. Your body is like, yes, I'm ready. So let's go. All right. I'll see you guys next week. Ciao. Thanks for joining us this week on the Hellowell with Danielle show. Make sure to visit our website, hellowellwithdanielle.com, where you can subscribe to our show on iTunes, Spotify, and Amazon Music and never miss an episode. Also, you can follow us on social media at Hellowell with Danielle on Facebook and Instagram, and Hellowell Danny on Twitter. And if you like hella love the show and got some good nuggets out of it, know that I'm not too proud to ask for you to please leave a rating or review on iTunes so that we can continue to expand our reach and help other women of color. Again, thanks so much for listening, and I hope to see you next week. Ciao.